There's something about this car that turns people a little wacko. Porsche guys hate it. Is the Esprit Turbo some kind of automotive Bermuda Triangle? Does it throw sane men completely out of calibration? The Giugiaro-designed Esprit measures a mere 40.5 inches from pavement to roof. That's about the height of your average three-drawer file cabinet. It's wide and wedgy, and it has lots of what the Japanese like to call surface excitement. The last time we tested an Esprit Turbo, it propelled itself to 60 miles per hour in 6.4 seconds and tripped the quarter mile in 14.56 seconds at 95 miles per hour. The injected car now rockets to 60 in 5.7 seconds and does the quarter mile in 14.3 seconds at 97 miles per hour. Terminal velocity is also increased from 141 miles per hour to 143. This is big league stuff, right in there with the 911, the 328 GTS, and the Corvette. You do get some boost lag off the mark, but once the turbo spools up, you're in the next state. Lotus and Goodyear put their heads together and came up with a fresh compound, and the result is a tenacious 0.83 grams on the skid pad. It has to do with the car's width, the slope of its nose, and its driving position. Repeated hard braking doesn't seem to affect stopping distances at all, thanks in part to the addition of vented front brake rotors. Lotus still needs to work on the brake's front-rear proportioning, however. But the left wheel housing intrudes deeply into the footwell, leaving very little clearance between the clutch pedal and the bulkhead. Consequently, there's no dead pedal or flat surface for your left foot. And the rein effectively, and you don't hear a peep or a squeak out of it. The sound of the engine at slightly above freeway speeds can be heard either as noise or as music. Car enthusiast passengers love it. Others think it sounds like ball bearings falling on a conga drum. We like it, especially around 4,000 revolutions per minute, when it sounds as if the afterburners have just kicked in. When you stow it in the trunk for open-air motoring, you get glare in the rear glass under head-on lighting, reducing rear visibility from minimal to near zero. Our test sample tended to lock up its rears under maximum braking effort. There are also idiot lights to back up the most critical gauges in case you forget to look. Due to the license plate level seating position, the wide pillars, the overall width, and the fact that you'll never live to see the front of the car from the cockpit, you don't quite know where to position it in a corner, especially a right-hander. The Lotus may not be as fully developed as we'd like, but it's better than it's ever been before. Who knows? With General Motors' money and Lotus's brains, the Esprit might someday give Porsche something to think about. The biggest problem, especially if you're not built like an F1 ace, is going in. It's a little like climbing down a mine shaft. Once in, you find yourself in a seat shaped something like a hollowed-out banana. It should be fascinating to see what kind of cross-pollination will take place between Behemoth Motor and Lotus. Once the dust settles, might we see another mid-engine sports car wearing a GM division badge? Except for fore and aft position, there are no seat adjustments. If this banana isn't your size, you're out of luck. Lateral support is good, but forward G-forces try to launch you under the seatbelt. Shifting, though never a real problem, is a little easier in this edition because of a slightly revised linkage mounting system. The lever feels a little rubbery, but it's nonetheless better than before. What we miss is the confident feeling of dialing a close-coupled sport car into a turn and knowing exactly where to place the inside wheel. Cornering in the Esprit is like trying to find an apex by dead reckoning. That means enough scoops, rocker panel extensions, air dams, sharp angles, and body brakes to qualify as a shuttlecraft for the Millennium Falcon. We concluded that the car was too heavily compromised, giving up crisp handling in favor of a cushy ride. The spring and damper rates, both front and rear, have been adjusted for a much better ride versus handling compromise. You get plenty of input and a very gradual buildup of effort. In very low, tight corners, though, the effort builds much more dramatically. It starts to feel like weight training. The problem is magnified by the less than terrific seating position. The buckets are low and have no rake adjustment, and the steering is way up there on the dash where you sort of have to reach up to get it. You can't get enough shoulder torque into the wheel, so your forearms work harder than they should have to. That queasy feeling in the corners has been replaced by non-traumatic turn-in and a nearly neutral attitude past the apex and out the exit. The rear still gets a little bouncy over moderately rough pavement under heavy lateral loads, but overall stability doesn't seem to get upset very much. Apparently, Lotus was listening when we voiced our complaints, because the latest version is light years better in this regard. Except for the Lamborghini Countach, there is nothing on the street that can touch the Esprit's mandamoral looks. If we had $1 for every hard stare we got while driving our test car, we could afford to buy an Esprit. About a day, maybe a day and a half in light traffic. Does it invalidate the laws of common sense? Does it relieve the heartbreak of psoriasis? They pull up next to you on the freeway, give this evil flower a sniff, and then nail it. This Lotus could turn Franz Kafka into a party animal. Most of the time, this freeway tango is not so much a challenge to race as it is a simple declarative sentence. At idle, it sounds like an F1 motor exhaling through cardboard tubes filled with beer. More important, and unlike some domestic engines with sport-tuned exhaust systems, the Esprit's turbocharged, 16-valve, 2.2-liter mid-mounted four-cylinder isn't just a lot of talk. For the first time since this engine's debut in the 1973 Jensen Healey, it benefits from fuel injection. The Bosch Cagetronic system, added this year in place of the twin DeLorto carburetors, does a couple of wonderful things. First, horsepower is up from 205 to 215. Second, EPA city fuel economy is improved from 14 to 18 mpg, highway from 25 to 26 mpg, elevating the Esprit Turbo out of the gas guzzler tax bracket. Other engine modifications include a boost pressure increase from 8.0 to 9.5 psi and the use of Mala-forged pistons, a redesigned intake manifold, and a larger, less restrictive catalyst. All these changes add up to significantly improved low-end torque and mid-range flexibility. It's the profiler's way of saying, my car can beat up your car. Most can't, but they try. You get some of this from everybody. Guys with personality disorders and jacked-up 76 Camaros suddenly feel a need to crack open their secondary when they see the Esprit cruising in the next lane. Housewives with station wagon loads of kids want to drag race you out of the supermarket lot. Bikers give you thumbs-up signs and pop half-mile wheelies. What's the meaning of this? The answer to all of these questions, of course, is yes. The reasons are easy to understand. One of the other things that make people a little goofy over this car is the engine noise. The increased horsepower and revised tuning also boosts the Lotus's performance to world-class levels. 2 years ago, in our best-handling imported car comparison test, we came away with the impression that the Esprit was terrific as long as you didn't need to turn the wheel. The front suspension has been redesigned to relieve the anti-roll bar of fore and aft suspension loads, enabling the engineers to factor some anti-dive geometry into the front end. Steering effort through fairly fast sweepers now seems just about perfect. The Esprit's NCT Goodyears wouldn't be our first choice for this application, but they do a competent job of keeping the car off the guardrails. Beyond linear response and outright lateral stick, there's an extra factor in the Esprit Turbo's handling equation. Compared with the last Esprit we tested, the Lotus's braking performance is vastly improved. Our test car stopping from 70 miles per hour in 191 feet. The interior is a combination of great and not so great. The pedals are close together and well placed for heel and toe downshifting. Instrumentation is complete. For $55,000, it had better be, and includes a tach, a speedo, and boost, oil pressure, engine temp, battery, and fuel gauges. The removable sunroof is new this year. When it's in place, it keeps out the wind. As for ambiance, the Esprit goes first class. Every square inch of the interior is covered in Connolly leather 5 heights, in fact, from no doubt contented cows. One recent development that will affect the future of both the Esprit and the Lotus is GM's purchase of most of the company's stock. Labels aside, we hope the cars the union produce will be more like the Esprit than the Pontiac Fiero.